Happy Easter Friday! My dear friends, I am M. Bogarin and welcome to Pathways of Hope. Today's Gospel reading is taken from John chapter 21 verses 1 to 14. Jesus appears for the third time. It happened while Simon and about 6 other disciples were in the Sea of Tiberias. Simon said that he'll go fishing, and the others said that they'll join him too. They spent the whole night but caught nothing. Jesus was at the shore, but they did not recognize him. He suggested throwing the net on the right side, which they did. They caught so much fish that they could not pull up the net. The other disciples left on the shore climbed the boat as well to help pull up the net. Finally, the disciple whom Jesus loved recognized him and pointed him out to Simon. Simon, in his reactionary character, tucked in his shirt and jumped out of the boat to meet him. At the shore, Jesus already has charcoal fire burning with fish in it and some bread. He broke the bread and shared it along with his disciples. I'm really curious about what was going on in Simon's mind. Simon Peter. Why did he suddenly go fishing? Headline-worthy events just took place. Jesus was crucified and died, and then resurrected after 3 days, and after that appeared to them twice in the flesh. And then suddenly, Simon Peter decided to go fishing. It doesn't seem to make sense. If we were to recall his previous actions, he was doing it in true Simon Peter fashion. Reactionary, impulsive, and quick. The recent events must have shook him, and his way of release was probably to do something familiar. Fishing is second nature to him, a no-brainer. So it must have been frustrating to be up all night to catch nothing. Fishing is supposed to be relaxing, but it didn't seem to be that night. Many of us might be able to relate to Simon Peter's impulsive fishing. Some may be in between jobs, in between relationships, waiting for a college acceptance letter, in the middle of a problematic marriage, or anything similar to that. Many of us are tempted to do something just to get our mind off these things. Some may have turned to alcohol or back to old gimmick places, back to relationships that were not really life-giving. Some may have fled the scene and traveled far just to cool off. But do they really help? Just as Jesus was watching the disciples that night when they were frustratedly fishing, Jesus is watching you too. He patiently asks, "Have you caught nothing yet? Have you learned anything yet? Have you moved on? Have you found me?" If the answer is no, why not let Jesus tell you what to do? Maybe his way could be better than yours. It may not be the familiar way, but it may be the right way. Just as he suggested to cast the net on the other side, ask yourself, where does Jesus want me to cast my net? What is on the other side for me? Whatever you decide, imagine Jesus is waiting for you at the shore with warm fire, fish, and bread. The gospel reading is very personal to me. Back in 2021, after a year of intense lockdown, I was so excited to have my business back in full swing. With the arrival of the vaccines, I was looking forward to our lives getting back to normal. But with rising cases, we were back to ECQ by March. Delta variant entered our country and cases continued to rise. By my birthday in August, we were once again back to ECQ. Like Simon Peter, I wanted to erase the memory of 2020 and be back in business. I wanted familiarity and normalcy. But it didn't go as I expected it. I went into a downward spiral of languishing state. I saw no end to the pandemic, and my emotional and spiritual bank account was running low. Then came our women's retreat with this gospel as our theme. For 1 week, we broke down each verse and meditated on what it means to us. Jesus' invitation to sit by the fire with him was so vivid that I could almost feel the warmth and comfort. I realized that I wanted my life to quickly go back to normal, that I forgot to ask Jesus if that was what he wanted for me. He was waiting all along for me. I felt the heavy weight lifted off my chest, and the coldness in my heart was warmed by Jesus' charcoal fire. Though the circumstances around me didn't change, my perspective changed. I experienced fullness just like the full net of fish they caught. Now that we are experiencing our new normal, I look back on the last 3 lockdown years with fondness for the simplicity and slowness of life. It was a good respite from our ultra-busy lives pre-pandemic. Truly, only God knows and sees the end in sight. We only need to wait and to trust. No matter how much effort we put into our actions, in the end, only God knows the best way. In Him, we can experience fullness of grace and abundance of life. Happy Easter Friday once again, and this is Bogarin from Pathways of Hope. If you have been blessed by this reflection, please like, follow, and share Pathways of Hope.